What's up, YouTube? I'm here again with a chance to interview a peer of mine that works for the Air Force. He is a test engineer at the Edwards Air Force Base located in California. And I'm excited to sort of do an interview and give you guys some perspective on what a test engineer does. So stay tuned and I'll give you guys an introduction.
Edwards Air Force Base is located in Kern County, California. It is the hub for the Air Force Test Center, Air Force Test Pilot School, and NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center. This is a command center for conducting and supporting research and development of flight, as well as testing and evaluating aerospace systems from concept to combat. Many great aerospace milestones have been achieved here, from breaking the sound barrier to landing astronauts on the space shuttle. Legendary aircrafts like the X-15 hypersonic and the SR-71 have all flown here. This site is known for pushing and testing the boundaries of America's most advanced aircrafts. This base is the foundation for ensuring that we are wartime ready and prepared.
Before I get into the interview, guys, if you guys could hit the like and subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. I plan to do more content like this in the future, so stay tuned. I got some good content ahead. So what's up, YouTube? I'm here with a peer of mine, Amar, and I'm excited to interview him. So I'll allow him to introduce himself. Amar, if you can introduce yourself by stating your name, where you're from, and your official job title, I would greatly appreciate that, bro.
Absolutely. It's great talking to you, Shaq. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be talking to you today about what we do here at the Air Force as a civilian. So, my name is Amar Abbas. I was actually born and raised in the Republic of Yemen, and I moved here in 2008 to Michigan. I spent some time there. I went to the University of Michigan where I got my bachelor's and my master's in aerospace and space systems engineering. And after I graduated, I moved to California, where I currently work with the Air Force as a civilian.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't even know you were actually located in California right now. For some reason, I thought you were in like Texas or something. But that's cool. Yeah, you definitely got to come down to San Diego. But
Absolutely,
overall,
man. Looking forward to it.
but in terms of working at the Air Force, you said you were a test engineer, right?
Correct. So
Okay.
mhm.
Could you describe your overall day-to-day duties in terms of what does a test engineer do, and like what are some of the skills that you use as a test engineer in the Air Force?
Absolutely. So when I got hired to the Air Force, I got hired as an aerospace engineer, but just by the merit of working at Edwards Air Force Base, which is the center of like aerospace testing in like the whole world. Um, all we do is testing new aircrafts, new instrument production, or before they go into full production. So as a test engineer, my job is comprised of three different phases: planning, and then execution or testing, flying, if you will, and then reporting. So during each phase, like your job is completely different from anything. Each phase is completely different from the other. Like during the planning phase, you work as the hub of communication between all different stakeholders, entities that are involved in the test. For example, you get to talk to the pilots that fly your airplane. You get to talk with the other discipline engineers that work on different parts of the aircraft. You get to talk to the system program office, the one that organizes the whole test and fund it. And you get to talk to contractors like Lockheed, Boeing,
Wow.
Harris Corporation, whoever is working with you at that point of time, or depending on the nature of the test. And then during the execution phase, that's where you take everything that you planned for, or as we call, you always plan the test and then you test the plan. So what we do is we take the test plan and we try to execute it, like per se, everything that was in the test plan, we try to stick to it and make sure that it's safe for execution, make sure that we test all the test points that we planned, that we talked about, and make sure that we are comprehensive about all the safety issues or the performance issues that we planned for in the planning phase. And
Mm,
once we're done with that, that portion of the execution is hands-on. We actually get to fly on the aircraft. Like as you can tell, I told you before that I'm a civilian, but I get to fly on board the aircraft that I'm testing.
Ah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to fly a jet yet, which is the coolest thing, but we get to fly on board tankers and big carriers, whenever we test
That's
something.
cool.
Yeah. So once
That's
we're done with
cool.
that, the most important part comes to play, which is the reporting phase. That is when we take everything that we tested, collect all the data, putting into analysis, run some codes into it, massage the data, like extract all the important information, and make like analysis and deduce conclusions from what we have tested, and then
Mm,
we put that into an academic format, report kind of thing, where we actually get it published and send it to the warfighter or whoever is interested in that report. And then, like people in the upper chain get to use that data or that report to make an informed decision about the next step, either move forward, like make recommendations of like fixing issues that we have found, or like decide to not go with the product.
ah, okay. Wow. That's awesome, bro. So like I know you spoke about that you were able to be on like tanker aircrafts. Which aircrafts can you name the aircrafts that you've worked on? Or that
Yes. So some of the aircrafts that I fly with, I'm mostly the KC-46. It's the new Air Force tanker. It's like the
Mhm.
next generation area
Oh, okay,
refueler.
okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Is that from Boeing or you don't even, is that the Boeing one?
yeah,
No, is that,
it is a Boeing aircraft.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember our company was competing for the tanker position, so I think Boeing
Yes.
won the
Yes.
contract.
I know
So
there
you
was a
guys are
big
testing it
contract.
right now. That's cool to see it all come together. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, I got to fly on board the KC-135, KC-10, and like whenever the chance comes in, we fly on other aircrafts as well.
Wow, that's cool, man. I'm honestly jealous. Like I was like, that sounds like something I want to do. I might have to check out that position. So like when you do these
Absolutely.
flight tests, are you using aircraft software or I mean sorry, like Air
Mhm.
Force specific software, or are you using general software? I know like in college we use a ton of MATLAB, we use a ton of Excel. Are you using that to analyze the flight data?
Oh yeah, we actually use a lot of different softwares. Some of them, like MATLAB, is absolutely one of the go-tos. We use Python.
Use
I know
Python?
the Air Force is trying to move into Python right now, just because it's more accessible. But I know personally, I use MATLAB like since day one, since we started
Really?
working. Yeah, and
That's
it's
good to know.
yeah. But I don't think, like, the good thing about my job is that there's no restrict. Whatever gets you results, you are more
Mm.
than welcome to use, and the Air Force will even help you acquire that program or software if it helps.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're flexible with whatever you use.
Yeah,
Okay.
some people even use Excel. Like, and if you are able to provide results with Excel, nobody is against that.
Awesome. Yeah, Excel is a very powerful application that is used pretty much in every
Absolutely.
company or institution. So moving on to the next question.
Mhm.
What do you say you like the most about working for the Air Force? Is there anything that stands out to you in terms of benefits, in terms of um, just experiences?
I see. So I told you I work at Edwards Air Force Base, which is comprised of almost 70% civilians. So
Okay,
it's a little
70%.
bit unique in that aspect, that it has a lot of civilians. And what I like the most is the fact that I get to fly as a civilian. I can't think of any other job beside, like,
Yeah.
some jobs with NASA where you get to fly as a backseater or anything. But I love flying myself. I'm working on my private license, and
Oh,
sometimes like whenever I do testing, like I'm always busy, but I always cherish the chance that I'll get to fly on board one of, like, on board of a tanker, and then whenever the test is concluded, I would go lay down at the area refueling boom or bay area, where they have a small window, and I get to just like observe Earth from above, like
wow.
40, 50,000 feet altitude, and it's beautiful, man. I think it's the most rewarding thing about my job. It
That
is the
sounds
close
pretty cool.
it is the closest thing to being an astronaut. If
That's what I
like
was gonna
if I'm
say,
not
man.
exaggerating. Yeah.
Man, that's legit, man. I can't even. I remember literally having the vision of what I was trying to do in the industry, and I was like, man, it would be cool to be able to be on the airplanes while they were doing the testing, and like, here you are doing it, man. That's awesome. That's really cool.
That's awesome, man.
Man, so you get to actually be on flight. Okay, awesome. So that being said, um, what do you think is what is the most challenging part about working for the Air Force, or what is something that you feel like is not the most exciting aspect of working for the Air Force? Because there's always pros and cons, right?
I agree. It's for me. It's really really hard. I'm sorry, Shaq. I think I lost your voice. I can see you talk, but
Oh
I can't
yeah, I was
hear you.
gonna say, what are the? I know there's like I was talking about the pros and cons. What are like what are some of the
Mhm.
more challenging parts about working for the Air Force, or what do you like the least about working for the Air Force? If you had to pick something,
I see. I will be a liar if I say there is something that I don't like about my job. I get asked that all the time. I
really?
just happen to be working in a really really good environment. I have a really good team, very respectful environment, and like I'm always surrounded with professionals, by professionals from all different disciplines, and I really cannot think of anything that I don't like about my job other than living in the Antelope Valley. Like
Oh
just
wow, I
living
was
in
gonna
the
say. So are you in the desert,
Yes,
basically?
yes, we're in the high desert, and it's a dry weather, always windy, and it kind of grows on you, and you start feeling it kind of feels like home. And it's more affordable than other places in
Yeah,
California, but you still like that weather, man, kind of gets into you.
100 plus
Especially when you like
degrees
on
and
the weekend, you go to San Diego, Los Angeles, and all these nice places, and they're like, yeah, I wish the weather was better. Yeah.
oh yeah, I could totally understand that. I remember I did some testing up north around that area.
Mhm.
GA has some testing facilities near like Palm Springs or somewhere around there. And when I got out there, I get it. I was like, it's way far from any city, and the weather can get to you. So there's always something I say every job, whether it's the location or who you work. But it sounds like
I
you got a great
agree.
team. You got a great team,
Absolutely.
and that's the biggest part I feel like about having a healthy work experience is the people you work with. You know what I mean? Because that
Yeah,
makes that's your everyday sort of
uh,
experience. So that's awesome. So,
absolutely.
what would you say? I mean, it sounds like you've been able to work on some pretty amazing aircraft. What would you say is the coolest thing you've seen? Has there been any cool tech, or is there an aircraft that stands out to you the most, or is there an experience? What's
Yeah.
the coolest thing you feel like you've experienced?
So I think the coolest thing is when I got to experience watching two aircrafts air refueling mid-air. I didn't
Oh
really know
man.
that or the thing. Like, and then sometimes the pilots enough to let test
Sorry,
engineering
you
on
broke up a
the
little bit. Can you say that
like
again? Sorry.
the flight deck. And I'm sorry, I was saying that sometimes during our tests with like the pilots are like nice enough to let the test pilots, if there's a space, to come and sit at the flight deck where they can see the
Oh,
aircraft refuel in midair. And
that's cool.
it is something magical, man. I don't think a lot of people get to see that, and it's just like the perspective, just being up there in the air and watching aircrafts going almost subsonic and refueling midair. It's very unique.
That
Yeah,
is
and
pretty cool, man.
just by merit of working with the Air Force, I got to see the F-117 and the B-2 and F-35, F-22s. Like where I work at, it
Oh
was
man, you get to see the F-35s and the 22s. Oh
yeah,
man,
they're all there. They're always there flying around. Like you wake up in the morning, you drive to work, and you get to say, "Oh wait,
you
that's
see
the
that 22?
B-2." Yeah,
That's pretty
that's
cool,
pretty
man.
awesome, I'd say.
I get to see some F-35s too because we got a Miramar Air Base that's right near my apartment. So we actually
Uh-huh.
hear them take off, and they're super loud. It's amazing, like the power of
They
those
are
things.
very loud.
But it's cool that you get to see
I
it up
agree.
close and
I can
personal.
tell an F-35 is flying just by the sound
By the
of it.
sound now, because you're so
Yeah,
distinct. Oh
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing, man. Yeah, that whole air refueling and mid-flight. I mean, the precision to line up two
yes,
airplanes and to get it just right. That's pretty amazing, man. I've seen that in movies,
it is
and
my
so I'm
joy.
pretty jealous, man. You got a real cool job, man.
Thank you very much.
No problem, man. So I'm curious about what your experience was like getting into the Air Force. So I know you said you work as a civilian.
Okay.
What was that application
Yep.
process like? Was it like applying to any other job, or did you go to usajob.com since it's a government job? Or
Okay. So the funny thing is that I was going to usajobs.gov all the time trying to apply, and the funny thing is that I've never got a response from that website. Even though, like, if I just waited enough, I'm pretty sure I would have got something. But
yeah,
the way I got my current job is uh, there were some recruiters that came to University of Michigan during career fair, and I just happened to see them. They were like dressed in civilian clothes, and I was like, "You guys work for the Air Force?" I was just like curious, and they're like, "Yeah, we're civilians. We work with the Air Force, and if you're interested, we have some openings. What is your major?" So I started telling them about myself, and I showed them my resume, and they were like, "You know what? If you come work with us, we are like alumni from the University of Michigan as well, and we like our
oh,
jobs." Yeah. So when they told me about it, it's like one of these jobs where they have a direct hire authority. Like once they are interested in you, they will just give you the job offer right away. And
wow,
like the process is a little bit faster than other processes where you have to go through the usajobs.gov, wait for
yeah,
someone to pick you.
thank you.
Yeah, so it was like I would say I was fortunate that I got the chance to talk to them. They came to school. It was like almost like a non-traditional hiring process, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow, no, that sounds really cool because yeah, I've done the whole jobsusa.com, usajobs.com, and it's like you said, it's like a back. You throw it in there, and it's you don't know when anyone's
Yes,
ever going to get
yes,
back to you. So I push for promoting yourself as many different ways as possible, not just online application, but
absolutely.
networking. And it sounds like career fair actually worked out for you.
Correct.
And being an
Yeah, career
alumni and
fair is the best.
career fair. Okay, so I always tell people you gotta try different angles to get in. So that's awesome. So
Absolutely.
they were, you said the recruiters there were specifically Michigan alumni.
Yeah, yeah, they were Michigan alumni. They were like, "Hey, let us go to school. There's a career fair. We need people, and if we can grab some people, we'll do it." And the misconception that I have is that everybody that has to work with the Air Force has to be military, has to be
Mm,
enlisted or like an officer. But that was not the case. Once they explained that, I was like, I'm actually very interested in the things that you guys do, and it lines a lot with my current experience. And they thought the same too. So it all worked out very well.
awesome. And what do you think was the biggest factor in you getting the job? Was it, there's all these different variables to consider. Was it extracurricular activities? Was it GPA? Was it courses you took? Was it networking? Was it the fact that you were an alumni? Or you think it all kind of came? What do you think was the one factor that made you stand out from other applicants?
I would say it's a combination of all that you have mentioned, but I think the biggest thing is the extracurricular
You said it again. Sorry, you broke up just
like
briefly.
being like if you look into my resume, no problem. I'll just say it again. I think it's a mix of everything that you have mentioned, like networking, having a degree, having a good GPA, good academic standing, and most importantly, in my opinion, is the extracurricular activities. Like
Extracurricular activities.
correct, yeah. So
Hmm.
if you look into my resume, I have almost 6 different team projects that I got involved with, and I
Mm,
feel yeah, I feel that companies value that very, very much, especially like hiring managers. When they see that, they know that you are a team player. You are someone who got
mm,
exposed to these challenges, experiences, pressure, and that you are willing to like work with other team members. You know what I mean? You're not going to get exposed first time and then struggles like, oh, how do I deal with this? How do I communicate with this person? Yeah,
yeah.
so I think that played a big role into me getting hired or getting multiple offers, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. I'm always pushing when people ask me for advice. I'm like extracurricular activities, extracurricular activities. You know what I
Yes,
mean? For everybody, it's going to be different depending on your major, whether it's a Formula SAE or whether it's a rocket club or some robotics club. Because that's
yes,
where, like you said, you're going to get the most experience and develop those other soft skills like teamwork skills. And you're going to realize that a lot of those skills will get you a
Correct.
lot further in the industry than just simply being able to program. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be a good team player. If you can be the smartest person in the room, but if you don't know how to communicate and articulate yourself and get along with people, companies are going to boot you out. There's
I
always
agree.
so that's awesome.
I
I
couldn't
agree with
agree
that.
more, man.
Yeah.
That is very.
So that being said, I always like to go to the reality versus expectation, because
No problem.
there's we all have our imagination of what the world is going to be like before we get after we graduate. So for you, what do you think was the biggest difference between what you expected versus what the industry is actually like?
I hear you. So I think me personally, my this job was everything that I wanted, and it was even better
Mm,
than I expected. To be honest
wow,
with you.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So like you're always like once you graduate, like you always have that self doubt. And I know it's not true for everybody, but I know me personally, like English is my second language, and it's like I was always worried, like I'm moving to a different state by myself, and like I'm going to do completely different things. I'm going to the Air Force. There will be military and things like that. But I would say that I don't underestimate yourself. Like that's my advice to everybody else. Like once you go there, just do your best, and you will be surprised what you can accomplish. Honestly, like once I got there, I just give it my best. I failed in some things, I did well in other areas, and you just kind of learn. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So for me, I think it was better than what I expected. I was just a little bit intimidated, and it turned out it's not as bad as I thought it would be, or as scary as it would be.
I feel you. That's awesome. That's good advice, and I'm really glad to hear that it exceeded your expectations because you rarely hear that. A lot of it is for a lot of people they don't get the necessary experience. A lot of people have the expectation that I know one of the biggest complaints you hear about a lot of engineers, maybe they feel like their first job they're not having as much of an impact as they would because you come in at an entry level position
Correct.
and you realize you have to work your way up to
Yeah.
the more senior level positions. But it sounds like you're in a position
Yeah.
where you feel as if though you're having an impact and you feel fulfilled, which is very unique and good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like
Um,
just talking with pilots, like for my experience, like whenever we work with pilots and we show them our results from testing, they always get impressed. It was like, you know what, we use this like in the theater, we use it firsthand, and we appreciate all the things that you guys do. So it kind of feels good, to be honest with you, knowing that
that's
you're
awesome.
like making like the guys out there safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, you're verifying everything
Mhm.
and getting
Correct.
numbers to support, the performance. So that's awesome. And do you feel like there were any
Thank you.
skills that translated really well from academia to your industry? I mean, it sounds like you're in a position where, you do use a lot of technical software and skills. Anything that stands out to you that was like, man, when in college this course really helped me, or this topic, is there anything that really stood out to you that helped you from academia?
That's a really good question, Jack. I think everything that you learn in school will help you one way or another. Like
Mm,
everything. Like don't underestimate. Even if that history class or like that English class, that will help you in your writing portion. Like
mm,
when I first got my job, like everything counts. Like your communication skills, the connections that you made, like in school, the friends that you made, like help you build your character, as you mentioned, the soft skills, communication. And like I would say the most critical thing that helped a lot was like trying to develop that critical thinking skill. If you have that um, like talent, and it's not something that just comes in, like you're not born with it, you will have to develop that. You have to actively engage your mind on being critical thinker.
yep.
And if you can use that, I think that would be the best like skill that you would have, like that will make you succeed and stand out from your peers at the workspace.
Wow, that was a really good point you made about how it all matters, even like the history
Yes.
courses and the writing courses. I
Yes.
actually really agree with that. I thought about that. I was trying to get like, oh, is this one specific course that really, but like, I agree. Even at my job, I work as a liaison and I do use some technical skills and CAD and stuff like that. But even when it comes to writing reports, writing emails, being concise, not making grammatical errors, I realize like everything shows up at some point, some skill from,
I
school that
agree.
you learn, being culturally aware, when you're speaking to your coworkers and having, just being a well-rounded person, it helps you stand out
Exactly.
more and more likable. And that's a really good point you made. And
Thank you.
I definitely agree with that. I was just trying to think. No, no, no. That's awesome. That's some really good advice. That's really good advice. That being said, do you have any words of wisdom for young aspiring engineers? I always like to say, in college, you kind of are surrounded. You're still in the academia bubble, so you haven't had many adult life experiences outside of that. And do you have
Mhm.
any advice for people? Some people like to give advice. Hey, have hobbies. Hey, have different side hustles, or just in general for young engineers.
Right. Yeah. So, like career-wise, I would say I'm not in a position to give wisdom word of advice, first of all. But I know that like from my experience, the thing that helped me the most was the extracurricular activities, as I mentioned before. I
Mm-hmm.
just like, I would recommend everybody, if you get a chance, if there is some teams at your school where you can like participate on a project, just go ahead and do it. You're not losing anything. You
Yeah.
might even get some credit for it. Like if you can get a credit for it, that is double dipping, as they say. Like you actually, yeah, you get like credits, you make friends, you make connections, and
Hmm.
then you discover a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your
You do.
weaknesses, you learn a lot about your limits, and then you learn a lot about your strengths. So like once you know your weaknesses, you can just go ahead back to classroom and then try to improve that. And once you know your weakness, like your strengths, you try to work more on that or harp on that and try to make them even better. And as I mentioned, like the friends that you make, the pressure that you go through will like help you become better like team
Hmm.
player, and the experience that you get, you can even add it to your resume, and that counts a lot. I told you that helped me a lot in my resume. That
Hmm.
like I actually was able to get like a higher pay just because I had more experience.
Wow.
Yeah, it counted as a like a professional experience. If you worked on something and you ended up with a final product like a report or like a analysis or something like that, or a paper that you published or talked about in a conference, that counts as experience. You know what I mean? So I think I can't think of anything better or more fun to do in school than being on a team,
Hmm.
like a extracurricular activity or being in a team, and then use it in your resume to advance your career.
I
It's like a win-win.
100% agree. I 100%
Yeah.
agree. I always like promoting extracurricular because for me that was like to me that was my most unique experience was doing Formula SAE, where I got to
Hmm.
apply everything I learned. I had to learn about leadership skills, communication skills, see the tangible results. It had to all come together. You learn about management, you learn about dealing with different personalities. That was by far, if as much as I hate to say I had to take
I
out
agree.
student loans, if I had to say what was the one part that made it worth it, I would say it was doing those things because
I
those things
totally
really
agree with
helped
you.
me get a job. You know what I mean?
True
And
story. It's an
so
investment.
extra, and that's really cool that you said that you were able to get an extra higher pay because they counted that as experience. I'm not surprised at all because it really
Yes.
is like
Yeah.
having a
Hmm.
job. And so if you guys are watching, go out there and
I agree.
join extracurricular activities. It was something I didn't do till grad school, but if you can do it when you start as a freshman, sophomore, get ahead of the curve, it'll set you apart. So I really appreciate you sharing that, Amar, and I just wanted to say thank you for your time.
You
But you
study
want to share
abroad.
something else? What do you say?
We know what. Well, I want to say that don't forget about studying abroad. If you guys can do it, that was
Oh,
one of the best experience that we had. I actually had a chance to go with Shaq to France, to South France,
yes,
to
we went
study
to France.
aerospace. That was one of the best experiences in my life.
Yes,
Period.
easily, hands down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, for those of you watching, our universities overlapped in a program where we had a chance to study abroad in the south of France, and that was just an amazing experience. We took some aerospace courses together. We traveled together. We went out with the bars together. It was just a very unique, once in a lifetime experience. So, if you're in college and
Agree.
it's a study abroad program, this is the best time to take advantage of traveling because you have the most flexibility.
Agree.
You have a university supporting you. So do your research on your university and take advantage of the study abroad. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep.
But no, Mar, I just wanted to say thank you, man. It sounds like you have a really awesome job. I might have to look into a test engineer position myself,
So
and I really appreciate your
just let me
testimony.
know.
And I definitely let you know, man. If you guys have any questions, leave your comments. Leave your questions in the comments, and I'll definitely get back to you guys. Until next time, guys.